In this video, I want to answer the two questions. What is a residual risk? And what is a secondary risk? To answer those two questions, we actually need to get to grips with three terms, because the story of residual risk and secondary risk begins with another term: inherent risk. Inherent risk, or underlying risk, is the risk you start with before you take any action to control it. If you take no controlling action, then the risk is the inherent risk. However, if you do act, then you may not remove all of the inherent risk, and the risk that remains is the residual risk. So, residual risk is the risk that remains after implementing your risk control measures. If you make no response to your risk, which is risk acceptance, then your residual risk is equal to your inherent risk. Now, as well as resolving or mitigating an inherent risk, your risk response may also have one or more undesired outcomes. Those secondary outcomes may be issues that you need to deal with now, or risks that may arise in future. If your risk response generates additional risks, these are called secondary risks. A secondary risk is the risk that arises as a direct result of implementing a risk response. Ideally, when you plan your risk responses, you will be able to foresee any secondary issues or secondary risks. That way, you will be able to make an informed decision about which risk response is most appropriate in the circumstances. So, why does all this matter? Once you've applied your risk response, it is wise to review the situation to identify whether there are any residual risks or secondary risks arising, and therefore to update your risk register accordingly. Residual risks need to remain in your risk register with an updated evaluation of their impact, of their likelihood, and of their proximity, and a new plan to further mitigate them if the severity, the likelihood, and the proximity merit it. However, your residual risk may be small enough that you may decide to simply accept it or to deal with it with a contingency plan should it arise. And of course, with secondary risks, you will add them to your risk register and evaluate them and plan for them as you would for any other new risk arising on your project. In this way, risk management is really just an adaptive, iterative process, like so much else of project management. As I like to say, all project management is hybrid project management. We don't do anything once and forget it, except signing off a final test certificate or quality control evaluation. But I do want to end by answering the question, how much does this really matter? It's a good question. And really and truly, all this is secondary stuff, pun not intended, but enjoyed nonetheless. By that, I mean that for most of us, we're not going to actively concern ourselves with it, but what will happen, I hope, is that it will become habit to constantly survey the risk profile of your project. And that way you will pick up on residual risks and you'll pick up on secondary risks as and when they emerge, and they will emerge. So, knowing what a residual risk is and knowing what a secondary risk is useful, but it's not vital. What's really important is the discipline to manage your risks actively and to review the risks that you have on a regular, proactive basis. By the way, the second edition of my best-selling book, Risk Happens, is available now as a Kindle exclusive ebook from all Amazon stores, and I really do strongly recommend that you take a look at it. Please do give a thumbs up if you've enjoyed this video. I'll be creating lots more great project management content for you, so please do subscribe to the channel and hit the notification bell so you don't miss any of it. And I'll look forward to seeing you in the next one.